1 Abductor digiti minimi, foot. Origin. Medial and lateral processes of posterior calcaneal tuberosity. Insertion. Lateral side of base of proximal phalanx of 5th toe and 5th metatarsal. Action. Flexes and abducts 5th toe. Supports lateral longitudinal arch nerve. Lateral plantar, S2,3. 2 Abductor hallucis. Origin. Medial process of posterior calcaneal tuberosity and flexor retinaculum. Insertion. Medial aspect of base of proximal phalanx of big toe via medial sesamoid. Action. Flexes and abducts big toe. Supports medial longitudinal arch. Nerve. Medial plantar nerve, S1,2. 3 Adductor brevis. Origin. Inferior ramus and body of pubis. Insertion. Upper third of linea aspera. Action. Adducts hip. Nerve. Anterior division of obturator nerve, L2, 3. 4 Adductor hallucis. Origin. Oblique head, base of 2, 3, 4 metatarsals. Transverse head, plantar metatarsal ligaments and deep transverse ligament. Insertion. Lateral side of base of proximal phalanx of big toe and lateral sesamoid. Action. Adducts and flexes metatarsophalangeal joint of big toe. Supports transverse arch. Nerve. Deep branch of lateral plantar nerve, S2, 3. 5 Adductor longus. Origin. Body of pubis inferior and medial to pubic tubercle. Insertion. Lower 2/3 of medial linea aspera. Action. Adducts and medially rotates hip. Nerve. Anterior division of obturator nerve, L2, 3. 6 Adductor magnus. Origin. Adductor portion, ischiopubic ramus. Hamstring portion, lower outer quadrant of posterior surface of ischial tuberosity. Insertion. Adductor portion, lower gluteal line and linea aspera. Hamstring portion, adductor tubercle. Action. Adductor portion, adducts and medially rotates hip. Hamstring portion, extends hip. Nerve. Adductor portion, posterior division of obturator nerve, L2-4. Hamstring portion, tibial portion of sciatic, L4-S3. 7 Articularis genu. Origin. 2 slips from anterior femur below vastus intermedialius. Insertion. Apex of suprapatellar bursa. Action. Retracts bursa as knee extends. Nerve. Posterior division of femoral nerve, L3, 4. 8 Biceps femoris. Origin. Long head, upper inner quadrant of posterior surface of ischial tuberosity. Short head middle third of linea aspera, lateral supracondylar ridge of femur. Insertion. Styloid process of head of fibula. Lateral collateral ligament and lateral tibial condyle. Action. Flexes and laterally rotates knee. Long head extends hip. Nerve. Long head, tibial portion of sciatic nerve. Short head, common peroneal portion of sciatic nerve, both L5, S1. 9 Extensor digitorum brevis. Origin. Superior surface of anterior calcaneus. Insertion. 4 Tendon into proximal phalanx of big toe and long extensor tendons to toes 2, 3, and 4. Action. Extends toes when foot fully dorsiflexed. Nerve. Deep peroneal nerve, L5, S1. 10 Extensor hallucis brevis. Origin. Superior surface of anterior calcaneus. Insertion. Proximal phalanx of big toe. Action. Extends great toe. Nerve. Deep peroneal nerve, L5, S1. 11 Extensor hallucis longus. Origin. Middle half of anterior shaft of fibula. Insertion. Base of distal phalanx of great toe. Action. Extends big toe and foot. Inverts foot and tightens subtalar joints. Nerve. Deep peroneal nerve, L5, S1. 12 flexor digiti minimi brevis. Origin. Base of 5th metatarsal and sheath of peroneus longus. Insertion. Lateral side of base of proximal phalanx of little toe. Action. Flexes metatarsophalangeal joint of little toe. Nerve. Superficial branch of lateral plantar nerve, S2, 3. 13 flexor digitorum brevis. Origin. Medial process of posterior calcaneal tuberosity. Insertion. 4 tendons to 4 lateral toes to borders of middle phalanx. Tendons of flexor digitorum longus pass through them. Action. Flexes lateral 4 toes, supports medial and lateral longitudinal arches. Nerve. Medial plantar nerve, S1, 2. 14 flexor digitorum longus. Origin. Posterior shaft of tibia below soleal line and by broad aponeurosis from fibula. Insertion. Base of distal phalanges of lateral 4 toes. Action. Flexes distal phalanges of lateral 4 toes and foot at ankle. Supports lateral longitudinal arch. Nerve. Tibial nerve, S1, 2. 15 flexor hallucis brevis. Origin. Cuboid, lateral cuneiform and tibialis posterior insertion over the 2 remaining cuneiforms. Insertion. Medial tendon to medial side of base of proximal phalanx of big toe. Lateral tendon to lateral side of same, both via sesamoids. Action. Flexes metatarsophalangeal joint of big toe. Supports medial longitudinal arch. Nerve. Medial plantar nerve, S2, 3. 16 flexor hallucis longus. Origin. Lower 2/3 of posterior fibula between median crest and posterior border, lower intermuscular septum and aponeurosis of flexor digitorum longus. Insertion. Base of distal phalanx of big toe and slips to medial 2 tendons of flexor digitorum longus. Action. Flexes distal phalanx of big toe, flexes foot at ankle, supports medial longitudinal arch. Nerve. Tibial nerve, S2, 3. 17 gastrocnemius. Origin. Lateral head, posterior surface of lateral condyle of femur and highest of 3 facets on lateral condyle. Medial head, posterior surface of femur above medial condyle. Insertion. Tendocalcaneus to middle of 3 facets on posterior aspect of calcaneus. Action. Plantar flexes foot. Flexes knee. Nerve. Tibial nerve, S1, 2. 18 gemellus inferior. Origin. Upper border of ischial tuberosity. Insertion. Middle part of medial aspect of greater trochanter of femur. Action. Laterally rotates and stabilizes hip. Nerve. Nerve to quadratus femoris, L4, 5, S1. 19 gemellus superior. Origin. Spine of ischium. Insertion. Middle part of medial aspect of greater trochanter of femur. Action. Laterally rotates and stabilizes hip. Nerve. Nerve to obturator internus, L5, S1, 2. 20 gluteus maximus. Origin. Outer surface of ilium behind posterior gluteal line and posterior third of iliac crest lumbar fascia, lateral mass of sacrum, sacrotuberous ligament, and coccyx. Insertion. Deepest quarter into gluteal tuberosity of femur, remaining 3/4 into iliotibial tract, anterior surface of lateral condyle of tibia. Action. Extends and laterally rotates hip. Maintains knee extended via iliotibial tract. Nerve. Inferior gluteal nerve, L5, S1, 2. 21 gluteus medius. Origin. Outer surface of ilium between posterior and middle gluteal lines. Insertion. Posterolateral surface of greater trochanter of femur. Action. abducts and medially rotates hip. Tilts pelvis on walking. Nerve. Superior gluteal nerve, L4,5S1. 22 gluteus minimus. Origin. Outer surface of ilium between middle and inferior gluteal lines. Insertion. Anterior surface of greater trochanter of femur. Action. Abducts and medially rotates hip. Tilts pelvis on walking. Nerve. Superior gluteal nerve, L4, 5, S1. 23 gracilis. Origin. Outer surface of ischiopubic ramus. Insertion. Upper medial shaft of tibia below sartorius. Action. Adducts hip. Flexes knee and medially rotates flexed knee. Nerve. Anterior division of obturator nerve, L2, 3. 24 iliacus. Origin. Iliac fossa within abdomen. Insertion. Lowermost surface of lesser trochanter of femur. Action. Flexes medially rotates hip. Nerve. Femoral nerve in abdomen, L2, 3. 25 dorsal interossei, foot. Origin. Bipinnate from inner aspects of shafts of all metatarsals. Insertion. Bases of proximal phalanges and dorsal extensor expansions of medial side of second toe and lateral sides of second, third, and fourth toes. Action. Abduct second, third, and fourth toes from axis of second toe. Assist lumbricals in extending interphalangeal joints while flexing metatarsal phalangeal joints. Nerve. Lateral plantar nerve, 1 to 3, deep branch, 4, superficial branch, S2, 3. 26 plantar interossei. Origin. Inferomedial shafts of 3rd, 4th, and 5th metatarsals, single heads. Insertion. Medial sides of bases of proximal phalanges with slips to dorsal extensor expansions of 3rd, 4th, and 5th toes. Action. Adduct 3rd, 4th and 5th toes to axis of second toe, assist lumbricals in extending interphalangeal joints while flexing metatarsal phalangeal joints. Nerve. Deep branch of lateral plantar nerve, S2, 3. 27 lumbricals. Origin. Lateral 3, bipinnate origin from cleft between the four tendons of flexor digitorum longus. Medial 1, unipinnate origin from medial aspect of first tendon. Insertion. Dorsal extensor expansion. Action. Extend toes at interphalangeal joints and flex metatarsal phalangeal joints. Nerve. First, medial plantar nerve, L4, 5. 2 to 4, deep branch of lateral plantar nerve, S2, 3. 28 obturator externus. Origin. Outer obturator membrane, rim of pubis and ischium bordering it. Insertion. Trochanteric fossa on medial surface of greater trochanter. Action. Laterally rotates hip. Nerve. Posterior division of obturator nerve, L2, 3, 4. 29 pectineus origin. Pectineal line of pubis and narrow area of superior pubic ramus below it. Insertion. A vertical line between spiral line and gluteal crest below lesser trochanter of femur. Action. Flexes, adducts and medially rotates hip. Nerve. Anterior division of femoral nerve, L2, 3. Occasional twig from obturator nerve, anterior division, L2, 3. 30 peroneus brevis. Origin. Lower 2/3 lateral shaft of fibula. Insertion. Tuberosity of base of 5th metatarsal. Action. Plantar * flexes and everts foot. Supports lateral longitudinal arch nerve. Superficial peroneal nerve, L5, S1. 31 peroneus longus. Origin. Upper 2/3 of lateral shaft of fibula, head of fibula and superior tibia-fibular joint. Insertion. Plantar aspect of base of first metatarsal and medial cuneiform, passing deep to long plantar ligament. Action. Plantar flexes and everts foot. Supports lateral longitudinal and transverse arches. Nerve. Superficial peroneal nerve, L5S1. 32 peroneus tertius. Origin. Third quarter of anterior shaft of fibula. Insertion. Shaft and base of fifth metatarsal. Action. Extends and everts foot. Nerve. Deep peroneal nerve, L5S1. 35 piriformis. Origin. 2, 3, 4 costa transverse bars of anterior sacrum, few fibers from superior border of greater sciatic notch. Insertion. Anterior part of medial aspect of greater trochanter of femur. Action. Laterally rotates and stabilizes hip. Nerve. Anterior primary rami of S1, 2. 36 plantaris. Origin. Lateral supracondylar ridge of femur above lateral head of gastrocnemius. Insertion. Tendocalcaneus, medial side, deep to gastrocnemius tendon. Action. Plantar flexes foot and flexes knee. Nerve. Tibial nerve, S1, 2. 37 popliteus. Origin. Posterior shaft of tibia above soleal line and below tibial condyles. Insertion. Middle of 3 facets on lateral surface of lateral condyle of femur. Tendon passes into capsule of knee to posterior part of lateral meniscus. Action. Unlocks extended knee by lateral rotation of femur on tibia. Pulls back lateral meniscus. Nerve. Tibial nerve, L5S1. 38 quadratus femoris. Origin. Lateral border of ischial tuberosity. Insertion. Quadrate tubercle of femur and a vertical line below this to the level of lesser trochanter. Action. Laterally rotates and stabilizes hip. Nerve. Nerve to quadratus femoris, L4, 5, S1. 39 quadratus planti. Origin. Lateral head tuberosity of calcaneus, medial head medial side of calcaneus. Insertion. Lateral border long flexor tendons. Action. Flexes toes. Nerve. Lateral plantar, S2 S3. 40 rectus femoris. Origin. Straight head, anterior inferior iliac spine. Reflected head, ilium above acetabulum. Insertion. Quadriceps tendon to patella, via ligamentum patelli into tubercle of tibia. Action. Extends leg at knee. Flexes thigh at hip. Nerve. Posterior division of femoral nerve, L3, 4. 41 sartorius. Origin. Immediately below anterior superior iliac spine. Insertion. Upper medial surface of shaft of tibia. Action. Flexes, abducts, laterally rotates thigh at hip. Flexes, medially rotates leg at knee. Nerve. Anterior division of femoral nerve, L3, 4. 42 semimembranosus. Origin. Upper outer quadrant of posterior surface of ischial tuberosity. Plus insertion. Medial condyle of tibia below articular margin, fascia over popliteus and oblique popliteal ligament. Action. Flexes and medially rotates knee. Extends hip. Nerve. Tibial portion of sciatic nerve, L5, S1. 43 soleus. Origin. Soleal line and middle third of posterior border of tibia and upper quarter of posterior shaft of fibula including neck. Insertion. Tendocalcaneus to middle of 3 facets on posterior surface of calcaneus. Action. Plantar flexes foot, aids venous return. Nerve. Tibial nerve, S1, 2. 44 tensor fascia lata. Origin. Outer surface of anterior iliac crest between tubercle of the iliac crest and anterior superior iliac spine. Insertion. Iliotibial tract, anterior surface of lateral condyle of tibia. Action. Maintains knee extended, assists gluteus maximus, and abducts hip. Nerve. Superior gluteal nerve, L4, 5, S1. 45 tibialis anterior. Origin. Upper half of lateral shaft of tibia and interosseous membrane. Insertion. Inferomedial aspect of medial cuneiform and base of first metatarsal. Action. Extends and inverts foot at ankle. Holds up medial longitudinal arch of foot. Nerve. Deep peroneal nerve, L4, 5. 46 tibialis posterior. Origin. Upper half of posterior shaft of tibia and upper half of fibula between medial nerve crest and interosseous border, and interosseous membrane. Insertion. Tuberosity of navicular bone and all tarsal bones, except talus, and spring ligament. Action. Plantar flexes and inverts foot. Supports medial longitudinal arch of foot. Nerve. Tibial nerve, L4, 5. 47 vastus intermedialis. Origin. Anterior and lateral shaft of femur. Insertion. Quadriceps tendon to patella, via ligamentum patelli into tubercle of tibia. Action. Extends knee. Nerve. Posterior division of femoral nerve, L3, 4. 48 vastus lateralis. Origin. Upper intertrochanteric line, base of greater trochanter, lateral linea aspera, lateral supracondylar ridge and lateral intermuscular septum. Insertion. Lateral quadriceps tendon to patella, via ligamentum patelli into tubercle of tibia. Action. Extends knee. Nerve. Posterior division of femoral nerve, L3, 4. 49 vastus medialis. Origin. Lower intertrochanteric line, spiral line, medial linea aspera and medial intermuscular septum. Insertion. Medial quadriceps tendon to patella and directly into medial patella, via ligamentum patelli into tubercle of tibia. Action. Extends knee. Stabilizes patella. Nerve. Posterior division of femoral nerve, L3, 4.